Well, good evening everyone and welcome back to a new Tenerife news update. I am back with a little bit of an update. If you're new to the channel, I am Andrew. I do live here in Los Cristianos. I have done for the last 10 years. If you're returning, a big welcome back. Now, this week we did see quite a few of the protests going on. I'm sure a lot of you will have heard it either on my channel or in the UK media. They're really spinning it off. All regards Tenerife protests, tourists not welcome. I'm going to go into all of that, the general feeling on the island, stuff that I've observed since those protests, the general feeling, dealing with tourists every day, being in Los Cristianos every day where I live. I do feel a little bit of a change, only a little one, just a few little things I want to run through. Also, I want to run through the response that has come from the Cabildo, the government over here in Tenerife as regards to the protests as well. Later on in this video, we will be going across to Buddy's Bar, which is our bar in Los Cristianos here. And I'm going to be speaking to some of our customers who've come over, who are in Tenerife at the moment right now, just to ask them how they feel about it all, if they've noticed any changes, how their holidays are going, just to maybe reassure some of you and get the general feeling from tourists, not just me as a resident, but from tourists on the island, seeing how they feel about it all. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so I do have a little bit of a worry as regards to the damages that have been done by the UK media regarding all of the reporting that they've done from these protests. Over the last few months, we have seen that little bit of a rumble going on. It did all come to head this weekend when they had quite a large protest demonstration in Santa Cruz against the way tourism was being handled. Not particularly against tourists, it was more against the government. They want to see more changes brought in to protect the island, to protect the environment, to make it more sustainable. That was what their campaign was for, not against tourists coming over. Unlike what was being reported in the UK media, we saw various tabloids and ITV News, etc., going on and on about how tourists weren't welcome. People were spray painting tourists not welcome, making people feel hostile, unwelcome, etc., which a lot of it was very, very far-fetched. There was a bit of spray paint done weeks ago, not even in the tourist areas. They made a huge meal of all of that. But the actual protest itself, when people were asked about it there on the protest day, they did explain, we're not against the tourists coming over, we don't hate Brits like they're making out. None of that. What they were campaigning for is a more sustainable way of doing tourism, to make it fairer for people to live, get accommodation. They want to see controls brought in on illegal Airbnbs, apartments being let on holiday rentals that shouldn't be. They want to see more protection in those environmental areas, up in the national park, etc. That was what they were protesting for. But of course, for all the clicks, etc., the UK media have spun it into something quite big. And a lot of people now, I'm still getting messages, despite all the videos I've done on this channel, I'm still getting messages saying they're not coming anymore, they don't feel comfortable. I'm getting a lot of comments saying that they're not coming anymore and they've cancelled. Now, some of those will just be people who were never even booked to come, just jumping in on the bandwagon and trying to cause a bit of drama. But I do believe some of them are genuine. They now no longer feel welcome over here, which is just not the case. Over here on the island, everyone is welcome. Everything is running as normal. All the excursions, the restaurants, the bars, you will still be very welcome. Forget all of this Brits not welcome. They've made it into a massive thing against Brits as well. It was against tourism in general and how it was being handled. You don't see these sort of reports coming from Belgium, Germany, Sweden. It's the UK media that love a good story, and they just seem to drag it on and on and on. Even when that was starting to sort of die down, they came out with all kinds of new ones about how we were going to be banning people from wearing flip-flops on the beach. How far-fetched can you get? The latest one I've read here, this came out today. The latest one, UK holidaymakers forced to scrap Tenerife getaways after EU rule change. And this is a big article. British holidaymakers are abandoning their winter trips to the Canary Islands due to European Union rules and rising flight costs. In the last few months, tensions have been mounting between Tenerife locals and foreign visitors. Saturday saw 120,000 strong protests in the capital of Santa Cruz. They've described it here as anti-tourist protest. It's not anti-tourist, It's to do with the government and how they are handling tourism. They're not anti-tourist, they're not against tourism, they want the tourism, they want it to be handled differently. So again, continuing to spin it, continuing to make it sound really, really negative. And the EU, when you read further down, the EU rule change is just to do with the 90-day rule, which has been in place since Brexit happened years ago. You can't stay longer than 90 days. So that's the latest spin, is now, oh, now we'll harp on about the 90-day rule. That's been in place for years. It's really not, I don't think anyone's scrapping their trips over it. It's just the usual swallows can't come for as long as they used to. It's been in place like that for the last couple of years. That's the latest spin. They just keep spinning and spinning and spinning against Tenerife. It's like a bit of a vendetta against Tenerife. I find it very, very strange, scrapping their trips and all this stuff. Not true at all. And in fact, the flight prices have actually dropped massively this week, probably because to all of this. But if you're coming from the UK, the flight prices have dropped enormously, so they're going on about expensive flights. Again, that's not the case. The flights are actually very reasonable. People are actually picking up some bargains at the moment. If you want to take advantage of all this nonsense, jump in. People are getting return flights, 50 euros, 50 quid, 60 quid. I went on and checked Manchester. In May, I can get a week for 70 pounds. And even though one person messaged me and he booked for 27 quid return, there are some bargains there available. So don't join in too much on all of this hype. There's constantly a new story every day against Tenerife. Now everyone's scrapping their trips, and the 90-day rule, as I said, was in place for the last couple of years. You've not been able to stay longer than 90 days. It's not a huge new rule change. There's not a big, huge cancellation thing going on like they're making out. I find it a little bit crazy. What does worry me is, with those flight prices dropping, is that a sign of just it's generally a little bit quieter? We had Easter earlier this year. Or is that a sign of people now are slowing down booking? They're not booking as much now because of all this stuff going on. Are they now picking other destinations? That is my concern. We've seen the likes of car hire at the airport drop down massively to prices that me as a small business, I can't really compete with at the moment. So they, of course, have seen a huge drop in reservations for cars. They've got nowhere to store them, so they then start renting them out at a loss because they don't want to rent more parking spaces. They don't want the staff stood around doing nothing, so obviously they want to keep having cars to clean, etc. So they're renting at prices that are just basically a loss. So that is my concern. Is it now having an effect? I saw some pictures in my fan group of pictures of planes with, you know, they have a whole row to themselves. The flights from the UK have become quite quiet. In general, the hotels though, and the streets are still busy, and the hotel prices holding sort of steady, dropped a little bit, but quite steady. So that does show that other European destinations are flying in, no problem. It's all the UK have sort of pulled back a little bit with all of this media reporting. So I will take you to the bar. I'm going to show you exactly what holidaymakers here, British holidaymakers over here in Los Cristianos, are feeling. Have they seen anything or felt any difference in terms of spray painting, people being rude, people being unwelcome, etc. It is just not true. Everything is as normal. Taxi drivers, restaurant servers, etc. We all need you here as tourists, so we are just as welcoming as we always have been, if not a little bit more. I think people are going more over the top just to prove a point that it is just complete and utter rubbish that you are not welcome. You certainly are. You're certainly valued in the Canaries, whether it be Lanzarote, Gran Canaria, Tenerife, wherever it is. It seems to be Tenerife is the main focus. We are the UK's #1 holiday destination, so I think they know that. They know the search term Tenerife comes a lot. I think they know it'll get clicks. It's funny how Gran Canaria has been left out of it. Lanzarote was brought into it a little bit, but other islands have been left out of it. It's just Tenerife and Lanzarote. Tenerife in particular seems to be the one that they're hammering. Of course, UK's #1 destination, and it is that for a reason. So get yourself over here. Now, in terms of a response to that protest that did go on the islands on Saturday, it was a peaceful protest. Nothing really negative happened. They did their walk through the streets. They held their banners, etc., and that was it. There was no vandalism, there was no violence or anything like that. So fair enough with that. You're allowed to obviously have your voice. So the Tenerife Cabildo agrees to an entrance fee for access to natural attractions. This is their sort of response that they've come out. A lot of them were activists against you know, the nature side of it, the national parks, protecting all of our environment. The president of the Cabildo said that on Monday that the massive demonstrations on Saturday represent a turning point to address changes in the tourism model in the archipelago, and expressed her support for the idea of starting to charge tourists for access to natural spaces to protect the environment. Now, they do already have that in Lanzarote. If you want to go up into the Timofaya National Park in Lanzarote, you have to pay to take your car in or pay to enter, whether you're on a bus tour or in a car, etc. So that's already in place in Lanzarote, and I think it works quite well. I think they will bring that up into the Teide National Park. I agree with that in some way. You have to do it in other, you know, if you go to the National Trust in the UK, you've got to pay to park your car and enter. In the USA as well, various national parks do charge to enter, so I agree with that. Where I would disagree a little bit with Tenerife and Mount Teide is where you're going to have to park your car and get a bus tour, etc. Don't agree with that. But charging per car, fine with that. Little booth, you pay the man €5, you can park up there, drive around, do your thing and come out, and that money's put back into protecting the environment, maybe hiring a few staff members to make sure people don't do anything silly. But overall, whenever I head up there, I don't actually see any trouble. And she has said there, as president of the Island Council, I understand the message of the people, the thousands who protested on Saturday, and the many others who, while not attending the demonstration, share the same concern. She proposed that the fee for accessing natural spaces be used solely for their upkeep and improvement, citing Teide National Park, Masca Valley, and also the Anaga Forest as some of those areas in Tenerife. The president stated that the tourism model of the Canary Islands was successful for 50 years ago because it transformed the island from rural, impoverished society where people had to leave work elsewhere, but now it needs to be adapting to today's society. So they have sort of accepted it. They've acknowledged what happened. I think that's the right thing to do. You've got to acknowledge it and maybe bring in a few changes. And I think a couple of small charges in those areas isn't going to, you know, affect anything too much. I think people will be quite happy to pay that to protect those areas. Pay per car. That means you can enter, park, etc. I really don't mind that. Where it would bother me is if they're going to build this car park like they're talking about halfway up the national park. You've got to pay, park your car, and pay for a guided bus tour which takes you around. I'm not going to be into that. I'm into exploring things yourself responsibly, seeing it how you want to do it, doing it in your own time, stop where you want, take pictures where you want. You know, you don't want to be on a bus load of people and listening to a man rabbiting on with all the facts. You can do it your own way. So I don't mind paying to go up, but I hope they don't bring in that little sort of bus tour that they're talking about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They've done the protest. It was peaceful. The government have now acknowledged it. They said they're going to try and address some of the things they were campaigning for. Fair enough. Pretty much that was it. There's no unrest now. It does seem to have calmed down a bit. They've had to say there was the big build up to the protest. It's done and sort of boxed off, and we'll wait now and see what the government and the Cabildo do to address it. I'd love to see maybe more of a camp down on some of these illegal Airbnbs, get some people undercover, book them online, undercover, turn up, get your keys, and then obviously find out who the owners are, fine them. You've rented an apartment to me, I pretended to be a tourist, there's your fine. You're not allowed to do it. You should have rented to residents instead, or not rented at all. That's what I'd like to see. Maybe a few sort of stings, so to speak, on some of these illegal Airbnbs. I think that would be a good solution to get more of those back on long-term rental for residents to live in. But for now, that's sort of my general concern. I just hope that too many of you aren't put off. Do let me know in the comments. Are you still going to come to Tenerife? Has it put you off? I hope it hasn't. Stay tuned on this channel. Make sure you subscribe. It's completely free. I go live nearly every single day in all of these areas. There's no hiding it. There's no editing. We're live. We're walking around. We're talking to people. We're looking at beaches. We're looking at all these different things. And you will see on those vlogs, on those live streams, there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Everyone is having a blast over here. It's 25 degrees. It's blue skies. We've got boats behind us, kayaks going out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's as it was 12 months ago. Exactly the same. Great weather, great vibes, great atmosphere. Well, I'm going to take you now across to Buddy's Bar, which is what I do over here. I've got the car rental and we've got the bar. in Los Cristianos. So I'm going to take you across, we'll speak to some people in the bar and see how they're feeling, just to reassure some of you. Okay everyone, so we're here at Buddy's Bar, gorgeous day, to enjoy a little pint here. We've got Gary and Charlie. I'm going to quickly ask you while you're sipping on your pint, have you noticed anything different to when you normally come to Tenerife? Anything changed, anything new?
Absolutely nothing, business as usual.
Yeah.
I've never noticed nothing.
You've not noticed anything unwelcoming or any go home
Nope, not at all.
graffiti, anything? Same as
Nothing.
business as usual?
It's nothing different,
No.
just the same Tenerife.
If anything, I think it's busier out here at the minute.
Okay.
Especially over the weekend, there was a night on the strip was absolutely heaving.
Yeah.
If anything, I think there's more people here than ever and seen nothing.
Good. That's what we like to hear. So any message for people who might be a little bit worried in the UK, who've seen all the media stuff and
Don't listen
concerned
to the news.
about it?
Don't listen to the news and just come out and enjoy it.
Enjoy a nice pint. There you go. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got Gemma here, who's been to Tenerife a few times before. Yeah. Have you noticed any changes? Anything unwelcoming? Anything different?
Nothing whatsoever.
No.
Nothing whatsoever. So if you're thinking of cancelling your holiday, don't.
No.
If you listen to the British media, it is absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
Absolute rubbish, honestly.
So yeah, that's your message to anyone who's umming and ahhing at home.
Yeah, there's nothing at all anywhere, and it's the same vibe.
Yeah.
Nothing
Everyone's been welcoming, the restaurants, the bars.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Over welcoming.
Good.
Really good.
Thank you very much. I'll
Enjoying
see you on
it.
the comments in the channel again. Thank
See
you very
you.
much. Okay, so I've now got Steve and Sue. Been to Tenerife many times before. Have you noticed any changes this trip? Anything different? Do you still feel as welcome as always?
Yeah, no changes at all.
Nothing?
No, we've been down Los Cristianos, nothing there.
So you're in Gigantes at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No changes? Bars, restaurants, all still as welcoming?
Absolutely lovely.
Any message for anyone who's umming and ahhing about coming over? Might be a little bit worried about it?
Yeah, just don't worry about anything, there's no issues.
No, just come and enjoy it. Come and enjoy. Get on the cocktails. What are you on here?
It's the mini buddies, because I'm driving.
Ah, you're on driving duty, so you're on an alcohol-free one. I think you were on the Aperol Spritz, and then we've got Pina Colada going on there as well. Very nice. But no changes.
No.
All good as always.
It's brilliant.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm now with Vanessa. Joined us for a nice little cocktail. Vanessa, have you noticed anything different about Tenerife this trip? Anything, have you felt welcome? Have you noticed anything from the UK media in terms of negativity, tourists go home, etc.?
No, we haven't. Everyone here that we've bumped into has been very welcoming, and we haven't felt unsafe anywhere or unwanted. It's been really good trip.
Good. So in terms of bars, restaurants, everyone's been welcoming.
Everywhere.
Everyone's
Staff's been great.
even
everywhere.
any like Canarians or Spanish you've encountered.
Yeah,
They've all been
lovely.
welcome to you.
Yeah, we've had no issues at all because we saw it before we came, and it was like, oh gosh, saw
Yeah.
it on the news. But no, we've had no issues at all.
Brilliant. So if you had a message for anyone who's sort of uneasy or umming and ahhing about whether to book and come and they might go somewhere else, what would you say?
I'd say don't worry and don't listen to the news because it's
Right.
not how it is over here.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Vanessa. Okay, so we're now with Laura at Buddy's Bar. Quick question, Laura. Have you noticed any changes? Customers been saying anything? Don't feel welcome or anything like that?
No customers have said anything like that. No customers felt unwelcome anywhere. All the staff have been amazing. They've had an amazing holiday. All they've said is the media's just blown it way out of proportion, which I completely agree with. We all love tourists here. We all rely on the tourism here. I don't see a problem with the tourists. Again, love them. Everyone's still feeling extremely welcome and loving the holidays when they get here, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Well, there we go then. That was a little chat with some people in Buddy's Bar. I hope you did enjoy that. I hope that's reassured some of you as well. If you're thinking about it, get yourself over. Take advantage of these cheap flight prices. I don't know why they're cheap. Who cares? Get on them. Get them booked. Get yourself over in the sunshine this summer, and I hope to see you over here. If you have enjoyed the video, do please hit the subscribe. It's completely free. Do please hit the thumbs up and let me know down in the comments, has it put you off? Have you now booked somewhere else? Let me know, and of course, stride on.